All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 3x30 attendees talk series. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm really excited about today's talk. But before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and ancestral and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations. This is our second session of a total of 30-minute lives that we've been hosting on LinkedIn. And we're here to discuss an important topic together, which is what are some of the foundational principles to create success for events. Please say hello, use the chat, let us know where you're coming from, connect with each other. Also, we're going to have some people monitoring the chat just in case there's any questions you have to try to make sure we can respond quickly. A little piece here, which is around if you've not registered for the live talk on our website yet, please do. You've got a chance to win some tickets to the Event Design Collective Taster Session that's happening October 26th. It's valued at $60. They've been kind enough to give us free tickets for our audience, so please do. I think you'll find it very valuable. And you've also got a chance to win one of three event design book bundles valued at $75. So once again, you can register. If you haven't registered directly from our website, you can do that, and there will be a link in the chat for you to do so. My name is Daniel Mitchell, and I'm going to be your host. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing here at Attendees, and just Attendees is a versatile event management platform. It's for busy event planners managing a portfolio of corporate meetings and events, whether virtual, in-person, or hybrid. Super excited today to announce and introduce our guest, Lindsay Martin-Bilbrey. She's the CEO of Nifty Method. Lindsay runs a full-service agency and is focused on creating exceptional and creative experiences. She plans and executes virtual to face-to-face event campaigns that solve business problems, accelerates growth, and empowers human connections for corporate, retail, association, nonprofit, and government clients. Super excited to have her here. Welcome, Lindsay, to our live. I think we're just there we are. There she is.
It's always like, are they cueing my walk-on music? What's happening?
I was going to sing, but didn't think people would appreciate that. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So in today's session, Lindsay, we're going to focus on this debunking the myth of an all-in-one event management platform. And hopefully you're going to share some great secrets to build successful technology stack that's ultimately going to fit the particular needs of the audience and that helps them plan and execute their events. So really excited about this discussion. So I think we should just get right into it.
Let's do it.
All right. So, the first question really is around do you think it's realistic for event management platform vendors to really offer an all-in-one great solution for a meeting or event?
No. I mean, maybe someday. We've been asking for it since, I don't know, early 2000s, because as technology has become more and more part of the event management landscape, and it has integrated in several different ways. I mean, we've gone from binders to everything online and then back to binders again. Don't worry, I see you. I have one too, my fellow friends. Those different elements, there's this running joke that I have with a lot of my event prof friends is one ring to rule them all, right? One to do procurement through for my venue, to do one for my abstract management, for my sessions, to actually get it out there, to actually do my AV team, to do my project management, to do my food and beverage. It just never has all fit together. And I think that, and I learned more when I went to work with some of the event tech platforms themselves. They teach you in the beginning to create one really great piece of software by solving one really great problem. And then if you can do that really, really well and without bugs or something in like the ice house, which I never figured out what it was, then going on to the next one, you can then help solve another problem if it's adjacent to that one because it fits from that product roadmap you always talk about. And on the event planner side, we kept asking for all of these things, some of which are not anywhere close to one another. And so that's why I believe ultimately it's never really going to happen, but maybe someone can surprise us. I want them to. I would gladly give all my money to them, but I haven't seen it happen yet. And we use a lot on the marketplace. We work with a lot of planners who use a lot of different duct tape and baling wire solutions. So we're all heading in that direction, but I don't know that we're quite there yet.
So, Lindsay, what drives it? Is it the industry, the developers, the software vendors that are driving this? Is it the really challenging internal processes to actually bring in technology into an organization? Is it the planners? Is it a little bit like, what really do you think is the main drivers for this demand or the concept of all-in-one?
I mean, I think it's two big drivers, at least the ones that we work with most commonly with clients. And when I was a planner, I mean, what we look for is we're solving for price, right? When you can buy in volume with everything under one roof, it's easier because then you can come in and negotiate, okay, I need these 15 things on your checklist. We're all got them. That's going to add up with a discount. And there we are. Right. So that works. And when you look at it from the enterprise perspective, those brands, they're managing a lot of moving pieces. Procurement wants it to be simple. They've already signed and had the security teams for those IT platforms jump through a lot of hoops. So that price and procurement run hand in hand. The other piece is an event manager is managing a lot of moving pieces. It is not uncommon for the day of the show, 15 things to go completely wrong. The attendees never know about it, but behind the scenes, there's always stuff that breaks, right? And in a hybrid or virtual world, if that thing that breaks is the one platform, that's scary. But at the same time, it's one less thing to manage if it's just one group, because then it's your problem. I paid you to do it, Daniel. Can't you take care of it for me already? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's this push and the pull of us kind of all wanting the same thing for it to be easy, for it to
Mm-hmm.
be simpler, because there's a lot of things that aren't easy and aren't simple and require a manual person to do the things. And technology is supposed to make our lives simpler. But I don't know. I think if you asked another event manager, the answer might be completely different. That's just our point of view
Your
on it.
point of view. Yeah. So, for planners managing multiple corporate meetings and events with different objectives, and what do you see as the best approach to build the appropriate technology stack? Kind of stays in that budget area that you're talking about, but it's not overwhelming, but it gives the event teams the best possible technology stack to execute their events in the way they want.
Yeah, I mean, we always say, what's your event goal, right? Or the goals of your larger event team for the year. It doesn't matter. I think the words tech stack, see, I can't even say it anymore. Tech stack planners out, right? My world, when I first got into events in the mid 90s, like the biggest thing I had to worry about was the Marriott nice enough, was the carpet new, and did they have the food and bev I needed, right? Now, this event technology piece of it is really a lot. So we found when kind of putting together, helping you start that conversation of what is the right thing, it's really better for all of us to take it one bigger step back and say, what's the goal here? What are we trying to do and solve for our attendees, for our exhibitors, for our sponsors? Nifty actually put together what we call an event tech maturity worksheet. And it's not like, are you mature enough to do an event? But like, how mature is kind of in your goal piece as you're kind of breaking down the different elements of actually managing this event? Where are you, so that when the sales team from the event tech platform starts to talk questions of like, well, what do you have? What do you need? What's important to you? Especially from a platform perspective, you can come back in and say, all right, we have this requirements worksheet. And here we've answered, what do we need? What is nice? What is necessary? What is not in absolutely any way something we need? We've checked that all of our stakeholders, including the attendees internally, know what it is. And since we're shaking things up, because thanks hybrid, we're figuring it out, right? And so it kind of goes through that. But the platform is really just one of the things. It's like in the grand scheme of planning the actual event, just like choosing a virtual Marriott. I'm picking on Marriott because they're just right there, right? Also, like starting with your program. Does your program fit inside of it? And the things that you want to have with your program, all of the different things, from the pacing, from the transition. In the Marriott, you had hallway conversations where you could go from ballroom A to room on the desert B, right? Well, now if I'm moving them from breakout to breakout and I want this specific thing to happen, I know now that because my program says that, I can put that in my needs requirement worksheet and take it back to my platform piece.
Mm-hmm.
But again, before we come back to the platforms, my people, I need to make sure my staff, my attendees, my sponsors, my exhibitors, my leadership, the guy on the street have told me their interpretation of what that looks like. And then any of the partners that we work with that are helping guide that. So that's a lot of information. We just want to kind of take a pause and say, we're going to send this out. Our friends and attendees have said they'd share it.
Yep.
But think about it, platforms
Yep.
last, and then program partners and people are first to start it. And a requirements gathering document, event planners, all that is, the requirements gathering template is just a fancy way of saying Word document of things to tell the tech people, because that's what they need for the tech stack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at any point in time during the demo or the pre-qualification purposes, when they're going, oh, well, I don't know if we're going to do that, we need to ask engineering. You, the event planner, go, okay, they don't do this, because a sales team will tell you that. The sales team, just like the guy at the Marriott who wants you to buy the bigger ballroom, will go, oh yeah, we can probably figure something out. But they've got to ask all these engineers to make it fit into the round hole square peg. And that's not what you need. Use your worksheet. And just like everything else we do, keep a list of things. And that'll help you figure out what really is a better almost all-in-one solution, or this vendor can help me do this. This vendor can help me do that.
In your experience, is there a foundation of the platform needs to meet this no matter what consistently, and I'm okay going out of that box to fill in this gap and this gap or this niche technology over having the foundational piece? Is there a line in the sand for you where you're like, okay, this is we want to have a platform that definitely can do this, and then it's okay to go find a solution for these outside types of tools that you're trying to drive the overall event?
I think it depends on the type of event you do, right? If we are doing a large trade show where they're incredibly dependent on making their exhibitors happy and getting the attendees FaceTime to really understand it, our line in the sand is you have to do exhibits in a way that doesn't seem creepy and doesn't seem like a waste of money from our exhibitor's perspective. If it is an incentive trip that is built on peer-to-peer networking and really helping people foster conversations and roundtables and doing the exclusions so no one who can't get in isn't supposed to be there, those are the lines in the sand, right? If it's a traditional annual conference or user conference where you need a mix of both, those are the foundations. I mean, if we had to pick a very baseline, will it turn on and does it break? I mean, I guess that's where we had to do, but it really does depend. And I think that's what's so frustrating to so many tech platforms, because we're like, well, my event looks like this and I need it to do this. And can you help me understand it? So I think I would turn some of that question back around and challenge the sales teams at the event platforms and say, all right, what we really need you to give to us, not in a pre-qualification of, am I a qualified buyer as an event planner? We need to almost have you do a reverse engineer and say, okay, we want to interview and say, our platform does these 5 things really well. Is that what you're looking for here? And this is how it translates to your space. Because when you come at us with all these, we do all of these things, you're expecting us to almost build your demo for you. Half the time we don't know what we need. We know what our needs, and those things don't necessarily translate well. So the baseline really, I think, lies in your sandbox to develop and build a one sheet or a capability deck that those of us doing research can go, got it. That's what Event Tech Bible is so great for event apps. I can go in and be like, yep, got it. Nope, don't do it. And then we can go to the peer network to say, do we like these people? Are they good? Will they be kind to us? Are they affordable? And go from there.
Okay, well, that's great. I mean, definitely bringing to the table, understanding the use cases, and then do you fulfill those use cases and how to present that instead of trying to throw the whole bucket at them and everything else under the sun.
Yeah. And I can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Because I think the way you just described it is a great example of where you lose a lot of event planners. I know what you mean because I work in tech. A use case to me goes, oh yeah, it's describe a scenario of where this thing could be used and what the outcomes are, right? Event planners don't think about it like that. They're like, a use case? What are you? So, that's where I think the case study, we have a case study that does this. And in the back of house, y'all are calling them use cases to win mid-sized association business that concentrates on chapter membership events and X, or enterprise software that concentrates on X, Y, and Z. That even just that change in vocabulary helps an event manager go, oh, this person's going to talk to me like someone who understands events rather than someone who understands how technology can be more profitable because of my event.
That's a great point. Great point. Question for you. So do you have a good example? I'd love to hear you've done lots of events and you've had some great ones, and you've obviously had ones that have been a challenge. And so it'd be great to share like a horror story where you tried to put a square peg through a round hole and go this all-in-one route, and it clearly didn't work out the way you were hoping it was going to work out.
So the way we talked about this in prep was not necessarily a square peg round hole for the all-in-one event tech solution. I was going to say my horror story was the one time we tried to change the brand and we didn't tell anybody we were doing it, and then we went dark. And scared a bunch of people for our live stream audience. I think it would be a user conference we did last fall. This is one that Brent Kruger and I often talk about, where we'd chosen a platform that did probably 98% of everything we needed. But there was a component where we were in-house at the studio and we had a live audience and we had people coming on. And we go to connect the RMPT feed. And when we connect the feed, nothing turned on. Now in Dress, which we had done not an hour prior, everything was on, everything was green. And it took 30 minutes for the green light to come on. In that time, we had almost built the entire first day in Vimeo and we're about to tell the, 9,000 attendees-ish, hey, y'all, we're going to move from here to there. But it was a great example of putting all of our eggs in one basket. All of our networking was there. All of our sponsorship was there. All of our partnership agreements, all of our actual watch the presentations, with the exception of this small audience we had at the program site, nothing else was there. And so that is the single scariest example of how it's been over the last year, was just not having a backup, because even when you test it, it still goes wrong. And I don't know that that's a platform failing, but it's definitely something that I wish many event tech platforms had, where I could copy and paste my event in one of your instances and move it to a backup platform in case ish goes awry.
And okay, that's interesting. So is it a different platform altogether that you would need to be able to copy and paste it to? Or so would you be buying two platforms just as a
I don't know.
or?
It's something we've thought a lot about, because what we do as a result of this one user conference and this is an agency response, but like as an agency response to that, when we work with a client to set it up, we build a second backup on a second platform entirely, because we're not dependent on somebody else's servers. Because the issue that was coming in here is their servers, the event tech platform servers, weren't lighting up to stream it out. The Marriott was open, but no one could get in. The doors were locked. Yeah. And you had everything inside, right? And so that was a piece where, whether it's a sandbox, whether it's a separate set of servers where there's like a clear demarcation, and we know like that's a place that's become much more real for a lot of us, because I'm not the only one with this kind of story. There's lots of people who've had that on a number of different platforms. So it's not even platform specific. Sometimes the internet goes down. Sometimes it's raining really hard. Sometimes there's a hurricane, and just like you kind of have a backup when there's the hurricane in Miami and you need to, go north to Tampa. How does that work if you have to not be able to get in and need to go somewhere else? What's the easiest way to do it? Because so many times, especially for enterprise events, they're custom built. There's a lot of graphics and modules, and we've put assets inside of it, and we're screwed. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with some of these platforms, and we have no way to do it. And the attendees don't care. They are just, why can't I get in? Even if it was a YouTube backup, we need an option so that we have some place to go.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And how could the platform vendor provide a secondary source as a secure island that is separate and distinct that could be turned on very quickly?
Yeah.
So the opposite of that, we talked about some success stories, and a great example of a success story potentially that you worked with a client. It kind of combined, you were able to, you had the discussion, you understand what the event type was and what that customer was trying to achieve. And then you were able to put together the appropriate solutions to ultimately meet the end result you're shooting for. Do you have an example of how you might have done that and to share with everyone?
Sure. We worked with one organization, and in that they did 15 two-day events over a 6-week period. And so it was the same kind of group that moved through for like 2 by 2 by 2 by 2. And as we were coming in, a lot of it started with the event design. They didn't have a platform. They had a very specific price they were trying to set, and they'd never done any version of virtual before. So a lot of ours, we used exactly the event tech maturity worksheet where we talked them in and like, we start with why are you doing this? If you don't do this, what happens? What are your other resources? Then we went out and we talked about the program and who they were putting in the program and how it needed to work. We built a typical kind of run of show sheet, just like every other event manager out there. And then from there, we then started to take that and farm it around to some of the platforms that we knew they could trust, because we had the goals and we had kind of the hard lines of where we could and couldn't go. And then we asked the 3 different platforms we got it down to basically put together that kind of demo customized off of this. And for some of those kind of interviews we'd done, and said, all right, make magic for us, show us how. And we wanted them to do it in enough time where they had to build it to the specifications that was close, because a lot of the demos that many of the companies have, the event tech platforms use, like, this is going to be Cisco, and this is going to be Disney, and this is going to be Marriott, right? And many of us are not Cisco. Many of us are not Disney. We have smaller groups, or we have different needs as a slightly smaller entity. And so really kind of understanding some of those nits in between. It's the details that make or break a great demo. It's not the good sales questions to talk us into that place where you really feel like you're anchoring and helping us to do it. A lot of it is, do you understand enough about how the events world works to help us anticipate that you'll anticipate our fears? Is it going to break? Am I going to have to tell my attendees why they can't get in? Is the sound and the video going to get off? Is my leadership going to be where we have problems? Like that type of stuff. Our job is to be a parrot, to take the information back and to disseminate it and say it really well, because we are not in many times the doers. We are the ones that are the messengers to help the other doers do the work well, which means the event tech platform role, the one we ended ultimately going to was fantastic, because they really had someone, they had borrowed them and then ultimately enticed them away from a very large production company inside the events world. And so she was a planner previously. And that's our favorite type of group to work with, is someone who gets it, right? And that way we don't have to re-explain why an event is worthwhile versus being a use case.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And you've kind of answered the question that I was going to ask you around, what can vendors do differently? And I think you've said a couple times throughout this, some things that we can do to help make it easier and to speak the language that is that event planners speak and that understand and know, instead of going down the technical side of things too much and our speak instead of the event speak, which is important. So you showed us the document, kind of the technical requirements piece, and we want to make sure we try to lead people off of this discussion with something that they can actually take back and potentially put in play to help make this process easier, to try to get to that perfect ultimate ecosystem that they're trying to utilize to execute their events. Do you have a document or something you can share, tips, tricks that you can share with everyone, kind of walk them through how you would do that with one of your own clients so that they can potentially go back and use, and that we'll share also with the audience that they could potentially use to help themselves through this process?
Yeah, what we wanted to do is actually walk you through how to fill in a requirements gathering template, right? Because from a planner perspective, it can be kind of intimidating, because many of us don't know we're supposed to do this before the sales calls, right? So when you come in and they go, well, what are you looking for? You go, well, I'm looking for this. And what we did with this document is really to help you basically just make a list, right? So we set it up in a couple of different ways. One, this seems really self-explanatory, but the project name, let's say you want to come in and we're going to create NiftyCon. NiftyCon, we're in phase 1. We don't have anything of it at this point in time. NiftyCon is going to happen in 2022, January, and we're going to have it happen between the 18th, we'll do the 23rd through the 25th. That way we don't hit major holidays, right? And I can get the free dinner and happy hour on Sundays. And we're going to prepare it by me. And then the version history. This seems crazy to have a version history. And you're like, gosh, Lindsay, this is so much information outright. Yeah, but like the first time you do this is just the first go round. My guess is you're probably going to have 3 or 4 versions of this document because it's going to go through and you're going to take it with the internal team. And then you're going to get a little bit wider, right? And then you're going to get a little bit wider. And somewhere along the way, at some point, you're going to have to ask some of your attendees, whether they've attended before or you're just like asking questions on social media. And every time you gather that information, this document and that version is going to be the next place you put it in so that your list builds itself, which is 2-part. One, it really ensures you've done your homework and not just in a way that Google helps you do it, which is not always what you do. We know you are incredibly thorough in your research, but sometimes that's where we start. It also ensures that you've asked everybody you're supposed to ask. An event planner sits in the middle of, so many humans' opinions, thoughts, hopes, and dreams. This gives you a place for all of them to land. Then going through your project plan, this is the purpose and the project. So this is the goal, right? It asks, what is the thing the technology needs to accomplish for me? NiftyCon is supposed to help Nifty Method raise brand awareness. And here is an example of our website and where we are so far, right? So we can come in here. This platform needs to be eligible for helping ensure the event is successful from a hybrid perspective, right? So that's the high level piece. Scope, what's the phased crawl, walk, run? So with this one, crawl, walk, run technology purchase, this is when the sales guy goes, well, how long is it going to take you to make a decision? Do you have a budget? Now, they may not ask you in the beginning, but they want to know. This is the question every salesperson I've ever met in my entire life. This is what they really want answered up front, but they dance around it because they don't want to scare you off by asking, do you have buying authority? Do you have timing? And do you have, an actual budget to do it? So we want to spend about 30K. We can go as high as 50K, as low as 15K, right? That's all in. So all in means our entire tech budget is X. We want it to happen happen by January 2022. So we know that if it's in the middle of Q4, we're moving it along. This is all the information your friends over at the Event Tech platform needs. But you also do need to know who's in charge of the money. You don't have to tell them yet, but you can be like, decision maker is Levi, Lindsay is researching, Nina will advise. So that's kind of the RASI chart. Who's responsible for the decision? Who's got the authority to sign for it? Who's in trouble if someone gets sued? Easy ways to do it. And then you go in and you can walk it out if you need it. This is a good place to take kind of when you were planning the event, kind of those different pieces. If you've got a special networking event, technology, you want a band to play, you always have this type of trade show. This information goes in, and this is the dates that you need to have stuff signed by, right? And then it goes in for each one of them, and then you start to talk about your project description. Break up on your goals and objectives the constraint, which is, what do we know we're going to be constrained by? What means this can't go happen? Now, event planners are great at this, right? What could go wrong? Now, you don't want to think about it glass half empty, but don't lie. You've already thought about it because you need to tell the insurance guy. What we want to have happen is we want a knife thrower group to come on and to throw knives at a woman on a spinning wheel. Real story. It could happen. It has happened on one of my stages. So you've gone in, and from a in-person approach, you already have the stage, you have everything set up. How is it going to work so that now you're thinking about it like a TV show? You need to be close enough so that as the knives are spinning through the air towards the whirling ball, that the people at home can also see and participate, as well as hear the gasps of the astounded audience inside your small ballroom going, oh God, will it hit? Yes. Oh, that's awesome. One more membership for the state of Minnesota, right? And then the issue and resolution. So the first one's kind of a production issue. It's not a platform issue. And as you kind of go in, it's bit by bit by bit by bit. Some of it's really simple. It's not like the knives and the guys on stage. It's, we need to make sure that we can move 1,700 people from this online breakout room to this ballroom. And we need it to happen. And it's happening at 4:30 at the end of a very long day. How do we make sure they're all going to show up?
So Lindsay,
Right.
this is awesome.
And
we're running out of time. So
yeah,
I think that we're obviously going to share this. We could probably do an hour-long session on this alone. But I think that this is an awesome start. We're going to share this document. And I want to know how, if people want to actually dive into this with you more, what's the best way of getting connected with the Nifty Method team and potentially having a further discussion with the documents we're going to share that you've been so kind to give us?
Yeah, actually, the good news is we were done. Like, that was the last piece, and then it's just putting it together. But so with that one, really, you can just email us at hello@niftymethod.com. Hit us up on the website. Find us on the internet. We're at Nifty Method, or find one of our kind friends at attendees and say, hey, we want to talk to that really weird redhead and see if she can't help but do it. The good news is that we walk through some of these things. No one charges on my team for this, right? Yeah. This is helping you fill out a worksheet. We're not going to do it, but we can also help you find a consultant to do that. And attendees has not paid us to appear on this show. So, you know, that's one of the things where we're pretty vendor agnostic, and we just want to have you have a great event.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we wanted to talk to you. And I appreciate the discussion, and you guys, you know, really giving some great feedback for both, I think, planners and actually salespeople and vendors that are selling and trying to bring solutions to the market. So awesome, and thank you so much for being part of this day. I know that you're busy, and it was great to have you involved. Don't forget that we've got the live talks. The live talk next in 2 weeks from now, October 28th, with Mahogany Jones, the founder and CEO of Special Events. And yeah, we're going to be talking about hybrid event agenda design and how to make sure that you design the agendas in a way that's going to maximize the outcomes for all the stakeholders. So really excited about that. And appreciate once again your time. Any final words, Lindsay, before we go?
You've got this, event planners. You've got this, event tech folks. I'm excited to see us working together and that people are having conversations. So I look forward to an awesome 2022.
Awesome. Thank you so much once again. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you at our next live talk. Take care. Bye-bye.